but I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody.
Wow.
I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
Wow.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes.
Wow. Stop it. Get some help.
Kill me!
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome. Thought I cleared my throat before the start of the show. Apparently not. Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is our returning friend, Batman. Welcome back.
Saddle up, partner. Howdy, folks.
It's been at least 2 weeks since I've heard about a shooting in North Idaho, so maybe the Batman curse is not as real as we were worried about last time.
But now that you've said that...
Oh, I thought you actually had news, so you're just speculating. Okay.
No,
anyway.
But now that you've said that, you jinxed me.
All
and
right,
it's coming back.
Okay. Well, if I see anything funny going on in that window behind you, I'll let you know. Any gun barrels poking around back there.
Right.
In the news tonight, Trump says about 50 different ways that the Epstein files are a Democrat hoax. And if you have questions about that, he doesn't want your support now. And so the spiral continues. Hate to watch it. Kind of tired. Trump is actually making me tired of talking about this. I want the truth, but good God, every statement that comes out that either through him talking to reporters or through Truth Social is worse than the last. Please, for the love of God, I can't handle anymore.
Yeah, it's a demonstration of the fact that his ego is his biggest weakness.
I guess. I don't know what's going on, but somebody needs to take the phone from that man for a little while. Yeah. Although nobody does that. That's like an impossible. That's not a thing that anybody has the power to do. The manifesto of that bizarre Minnesota political assassin is released. We finally have all the details on his story about how Tim Walz hired him to kill Amy Klobuchar to clear a Walz path to the Senate. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read this letter that he wrote to Kash Patel.
No.
I don't know. I agree with Vance Boelter. Investigate Tim Walz. I think we need to know more. Okay.
There's
just saying.
A theme on this, going back through the history of this show of looking at the manifestos of the people who do the craziest things and thinking, the guy had a point.
Well, are you asking me to believe that Tim Walz would hire a hitman? All right, I'm listening. Carry on.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Minnesota, the guy from Captain Phillips is running for Minneapolis mayor, not Tom Hanks, but the guy who, of course, is the captain now.
I absolutely, when I first saw that guy's picture, that was my immediate thought, and I'm so glad that I'm not the only one.
I think that actor lives in Minneapolis still. I know he was from Minneapolis. That guy that they got for Captain Phillips, the famous "I am the captain."
Really?
Now guy. Oh yeah. He was a Somali immigrant living in Minneapolis.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you want Somalis, you just you go to Little Mogadishu. That way, you don't have to go to real Mogadishu. But
and it makes you wonder if they all have that shape. Right?
Yeah, he looks like he could be in Mars Attacks or something like that.
Just his both him and the actor, right? I'm not crapping on the actor here, but I will crap on the politician. They're both shaped like the graphic that drops down on Google Maps whenever you indicate that's where you want to go. You know what I mean?
I don't know what that's called, but yes, it's an upside down teardrop is the shape.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Yes, the pointiest upside down, the most bulbous upside down teardrop possible. Thank you for that geometric description. I'm curious for your thoughts on this when we get into it. The CEO of a crowd for hire company, first of all, that's a thing. I thought that was a conspiracy theory. Crowds on Demand, that's a real company. He says he rejected a $20 million contract with anti-Trump people trying to supply tomorrow's planned protest. So the paid actors, very real. This guy supplies them. He just didn't want to do this.
I think we already knew that. No,
Yeah,
I didn't think that was a conspiracy theory. That was the kind of stuff you could go on the internet and find.
I mean, his website must have been out there, and he's been doing this for political campaigns for a while. So I just didn't know there was an actual company that was that open about it. And the CEO's on TV talking about it. Plus, we'll take calls and emails to close. Of course, if you'd like to call the show, you can do that using the Discord server linked in the description. There are instructions and help available on the server. We'll catch up with your super chats as well. Speaking of, hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month over on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Support for the show not only helps me sustain, but it pays the people who make this show possible. There are perks available for your support as well. Or check out the merch store. Got lots of great graphics for t-shirts, mugs, and more. Likewise, merch sales help not only my operation, but they support the designers who made all of these designs, all of whom are listeners of this stream. mattchristiansenmedia.com/shop. Both of those links are right there on my homepage, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay. If you can't spell my confusing name, and we got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Hope Innovations. Have you ever wanted to grow your own garden, but you didn't feel like you had the space? With food prices rising and chemicals being added to our food every day, you might consider adding a hydroponic garden system to your home. Grow clean and fresh produce all year round with the Eden Tower from Hope Innovations. When it comes to growing your own food, invest in the best system out there and discover the joy of regularly having freshly harvested salads, homegrown herbs, tomatoes, peppers, and more with your very own hydroponic system. Engineered to be elegant and practical, the Eden Tower stands above the competition with its patented cup system that allows you to drop a seed and go. You do not need a green thumb to easily grow delicious and nutritious food. Business has been so good over at Hope Innovations that they've been sold out on these kits for a few months, but their supplies are now back and the kits are becoming available. Listeners of this show get $200 off an Eden Tower hydroponics kit from Hope Innovations through a listener-exclusive link available only on my website. Head on over to mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Find the Hope Innovations section and click the link for $200 off an Eden Tower hydroponics kit. Get started growing your own food easily and simply today. mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals, of course, if you need all the information on that one. And as always, don't forget to check out all the mini fine offerings from our friends at Hero Soap Company as well. Bar soap, liquid soap, shampoo, conditioner, and more, including my signature scents Timberline and Old West, great smelling, all natural products. And a portion of the sales benefit military and first responder charities as well. 10% off all of it. HeroSoapCompany.com, promo code MCListener. Promo code MCListener, 10% off everything from our friends at Hero Soap Company. Of course, mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals for all the information there as well. All right. I have very unfortunate news regarding a particular celebrity athlete for this show. And that, of course, would be Eastern Michigan University Eagles linebacker Noah
Knigga.
Forget the Epstein files. All right. This is the real national outrage. Noah
Knigga
is not included in the recently released EA Sports College Football 26 video game. My sources confirm that the Eastern Michigan Eagles football team is included in the game. I've never played the EA Sports College Football video games. I gather they were gone for a while. They came back last year, and this year's release just came out within the last week. And just to confirm, I went on YouTube. I watched a guy playing College Football 26, newly released. He played as the Eastern Michigan Eagles. There's not a Noah
Knigga
to be seen. Now, is that because EA Sports is afraid of the implications of Noah appearing in their game? It would appear not. My sources say that as a general rule, EA Sports does not include freshman players who are not the top recruits like Noah is. So it seems like this is standard practice, but if you're the sort of person who enjoys college football video games and you were hoping to play as your new favorite football team, the Eastern Michigan Eagles, and their star linebacker, Noah
Knigga,
you're going to have to wait until he steps up and makes some tackles on the team, hopefully sooner rather than later. But that's the thing. I doubt that Noah is going to be some kind of impact player in his first year. As exciting as it is for Noah to take the field in for a college football team and potentially ruin some announcers' careers, it's probably not going to happen this year. We got to wait until future years, and you're not going to hear it in the video game either. Unfortunate.
Or maybe they'll wait long enough again to release another one that he'll be out by then.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully he makes it to Madden. That's what we all want to see. We want to see him play in the NFL. So, all the best to Noah, and we will continue to follow his career, whether EA Sports recognizes its achievements or not. But, of course, the saga of the Epstein files just won't quit.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Trump even has a collab with Tiffany Gomez, the crazy airplane lady. That's going on.
That motherfucker back there is not real.
The Epstein list is not real. That's the official angle from the White House at this point, even though we're told for weeks and months that it's coming, just you wait.
This seems so moronic. What did they think that the response to this was going to be? That we would just all go, "Oh, that thing that was a huge part of the reason you were elected." You know, the reason, the accountability that we were all, desperately voting for, and the avatar of that was basically, Jeffrey Epstein was basically the symbol of lack of accountability and corruption in government and in high places. So, what did he think was going to be the response to this? And what does he think the response is going to be when
I don't know.
Turns on his base that hold this in such high regard?
Yeah, I don't know.
Smart.
That's the thing. When Trump pursues policy that I don't agree with or that I don't understand or think is mistaken, say, I think a lot of the tariff stuff was kind of poorly handled. I think even though it looks like it's had a positive effect, I definitely had some questions about the Iran strike. Okay, but he at least can explain where he's coming from. In this case, it's just, we're moving on from this, and if you don't just let me move on without explaining anything, you're bad, and I also don't want your support. It's distinct in that way. It's another level of idiotic from a messaging standpoint that I'm having a hard time understanding.
Yeah, and especially when, in my case, I've been largely very trusting of Trump. The guy took a bullet for us. I'm willing to give him more than the benefit of the doubt. He's been largely pretty good, I would say. I've liked the majority of what he said, and when he's made moves like the Iran strike, for example, there were loads and loads of people who were out there going, oh, now he is starting World War III, and this isn't what we voted for, and he's just like all the others. And I found myself thinking in that case, I don't think so. We've seen him perform strikes in the Middle East in the past. We watched his first administration do stuff like that, and it didn't break out into war. So I didn't think it was going to break out into war here, right? He's largely been the kind of person who can slap somebody in that part of the world down, say no like he's talking to a bad dog, and generally get a positive result, right? So that was something I thought, whatever, that's fine. The tariffs, I was largely on his side too, because to me, the economics of it looked pretty sound. I've had very few problems with Trump. I've largely been very happy with him. I've been happy to defend him in the majority of cases that have come up so far. This, I got nothing.
I just can't remember a time, and maybe I'm forgetting. So if people could remember another example, please do remind me. Maybe I'm just forgetting a past case. I just can't remember him saying, if you disagree with me, I don't want your support, and you're a weakling, and you're helping the Democrats and all this. So the big reason the story just won't quit, obviously the truth matters. People want to know what the Epstein evidence is, and voted for Trump, at least in part for that reason. But another reason it persists is because Trump keeps telling you, don't care about this. Stop caring about this. It's like telling people don't press the button. They're going to press the button, dude. The more you tell them not to care, the more they're going to care. Now, in fairness to Trump, of course, he's been asked about this many times. So in much of this commentary is in direct response to reporters asking about it. That I can understand. However, his answers are still terrible, and he's still posting on Truth Social, which in many cases prompts the reporters' questions. So the latest line, beyond that Epstein list is not real, Tiffany Gomez style, is that the Epstein files are a Democrat hoax. And Trump has probably octupled down on this by now. He implied it in his Truth Social post over the weekend when he compared it to things like I forget what his exact examples were, but things like the Mueller investigation and the Russia hoax and the impeachments and all these things. When he said this belongs in that sequence of events, like it's the same thing, the Hunter laptop cover-up. And so now he's going with this line with reporters. It's not just that it's not real or there was a misunderstanding. It's actively a Democrat hoax, presumably to get him or get people aligned with him. So here he is on the tarmac yesterday. And in addition to calling it a hoax, he's saying he doesn't understand why anyone would care about Jeffrey Epstein.
Why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
Did I miss the Trump campaign stop where he called it boring and nobody cares? When was that one?
No, he knew exactly why a year ago. Why is he covering it up now? This is the kind of shit that makes us not trust people forever.
He
this is a really dumb move.
When he says Jeffrey Epstein was never a big factor in life, well, if he had a network of pedophiles who are in power centers in this country, which is the suspicion, that's a pretty big factor in life. And that's what the core controversy and the core curiosity is here. It's not about, Jeffrey Epstein died years ago. Yeah, everybody knows that Jeffrey Epstein was a slimy guy.
Didn't kill himself.
The question is, to whom was he connected? And you and your DOJ, something like 10 days ago, you're telling me that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell had thousands of victims. Now you're telling me that's not interesting at all. Thousands of victims in the context of child sex crimes or sex crimes against minors. And now all of a sudden it's not interesting. It's boring.
Performed by the people who rule you.
I don't understand why you would even have interest in that. Only bad people want to keep this going. Were you a bad person when you wanted to keep it going very recently? Was your campaign bad? You made promises to release this information. Now people are saying, hey, I'd like to see some of that information. You're a bad guy. Even that statement there is hard to understand because he's simultaneously calling it a hoax. There's more commentary to that effect, which we'll get to in a minute. But then also saying where there is credible information, we should release it. Is it a hoax or is it credible information? Maybe it could be both. Maybe a hoax could be based on credible information, but those are largely mutually exclusive things. So what does he mean when he says release credible information that doesn't exist or is a hoax?
Yeah. I don't have any explanations here. This is just, it's incredibly bothersome that this is the tack that he's elected to take. And just like maybe a week or so ago, I found myself running across a theory that I thought was very convincing. And that was basically looking at pedo busts, pedo ring busts over the course of like a period of years going back, from today going back. And as soon as Trump took office, there's been this massive spike in the number of like pedo rings that have been going down. And the theory that was presented along with that data was basically that they're not releasing the Epstein list because right now they're using it. Right. And this is why Patel and Bongino are lying to you. They're using this data and they're working their way up these rings to sort of organically create this, pedophile destruction machine.
Okay.
And that was convincing to me. It was maybe in a way I wanted to believe it, because But now with his behavior like this, I'm not sure I buy that anymore.
We've got an
right?
email question later that's also a consideration of maybe a positive way to understand this. So I'll save that conversation for later because I definitely we have some an email question to that effect. So I want to get into it a little bit then. Okay. It's very hard for likewise. Some of the dots might connect, but there are too many dots that don't for me to accept it generally. But Trump was also asked today at the White House, okay, you're now calling it a hoax. You have a Truth Social post, which we'll get to in a second. How did you come to the conclusion that this was a hoax? Did the Attorney General tell you this is a hoax? And Trump says, well, it just is. It's just a Democrat hoax. This was earlier today at the White House.
You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. I call it the Epstein hoax. Instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. The sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's not the Democrats' work to hold you to account for campaign promises and or just seek the truth.
Is it the Democrats' work to hold the Clintons to account? Isn't that a huge part of the reason why people want the Epstein list? Is so that, we can be vindicated for calling Hillary and her ilk, a bunch of psycho pedophiles.
And I think for most people, I'm sure some people have partisan aims in this, but I think the people who are most passionate about the Epstein files, you're not going to find people who say, oh, well, if it implicated Republicans, I don't know if we should release it. No, their stance is the wall for everyone. I don't care if they agree with me politically. I don't care if they're my political opposition. If there's credible evidence to suggest they were involved in a pedophile ring like this, justice should be brought to all of them swiftly. For the people who care about this strongly, the people Trump is talking about, it is not even a partisan political thing. It is justice for our corrupt rulers kind of thing.
Yeah, there's only one conveyor belt that leads to that particular wood chipper.
I guess you only need one, yeah. And you can do both at the same time. You can say, hey, Mr. President, good job on the border. Good job on the economy. I would like some information on Epstein, like you previously discussed. Can we do that? That's not the Democrats' work. That's in large part why you were elected. But on the insistence that it's a hoax, too, we'll get into this a little bit with the email question. If it's a hoax and Democrats fabricated this, why didn't they use it to damage you? The theory that we'll consider later is maybe this is the deployment to damage him. But we have to believe, to accept that, Democrats created this hoax, sat it out for the entire prior election, never deployed it to their political advantage then, and choose to deploy it now for some reason. Why did you hire people caught up, these stupid people that you're talking about, stupid people caught up in Democrat hoaxes? Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, you on the campaign stage, a lot of people who voted for you. Why did you allow Pam Bondi to put these binders full of Democrat hoaxes out center stage at the White House for all those influencers to feature? And if it surprised you, like if that gesture surprised him, oh, I didn't know Pam Bondi was going to do that. That was a mistake because it's all a Democrat hoax. Why are you telling me insistently that Pam Bondi is doing a fantastic job by pushing this Democrat hoax?
This is why I said earlier that this is a demonstration of the fact that his ego is his biggest weakness. He cannot admit fault for anything, right? Have you ever heard him do so? I don't think he's capable of it.
It's
so
rare.
when he does
I'm trying to think of an example,
so when he does legitimately make a huge fuck up, he's just going to lash out against people who call him on it.
That he may be the biggest heel digger of all time. I have to be very careful how I say that. Heel digger. There are no ends.
Heel Knigga.
Okay, but he's not explaining what's fake either. Too, it's like, okay, so it's fake. This is fake. Presumably, you have some evidence or reason to say that it's fake. You mean to say that Democrats fabricated some like pedophile operation? Can you show that's a political scandal you also should be transparent about, not just because the truth is worth having, but because it would work to your benefit. You can show they faked this against you or your people. Let's see that. I mean, that would be damning against Democrats. But it's not just the commentary with reporters. As I mentioned earlier, Trump is now turning on his own supporters. You kind of heard it there in the commentary, stupid people. But in these Truth Social posts, I think this was, when was this posted? It was earlier today. He's saying, I don't want your support. And he's calling his supporters names. And it's very frustrating for someone trying to maintain the perspective that you were talking about and that I share, which is, hey, I think Trump overall does good things. I'm glad I voted for him. I would vote for him again, generally speaking. But when you're telling me that if I have this one area of criticism, scrutiny, questions for you, that I am somehow disloyal and I'm not a supporter and I'm a weakling or I'm a stupid person.
And working for all the people you hate.
Yeah, yes. So it's very hard to stand by the guy for his general achievements when he's telling me, don't stand by him. You're not welcome here, whatever. And again, I know this is also a Trump bit. It's like you got to post these giant posts with no paragraph breaks that are just a chore to read.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But some highlights from this post. I'm not going to read it all. It's just like the fake Steele dossier, the Epstein stuff. Just like the fake Steele dossier, the Hunter laptop cover-up, the Russia hoax generally. Hoaxes and scams are all the Democrats have. So their new scam is the Epstein hoax. My past supporters. So I guess these are people who still think the Epstein stuff is worth pursuing. My past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson after being conned by the left for 8 years. Let these weaklings continue forward and do Democrats' work. I don't want their support anymore.
I'd like to say, fuck you!
And it's that part that I can be pretty tolerant of policy disagreement when, for the most part, you're right. Even if you occasionally get it wrong and you have some problems here or there, we have some philosophical disagreements. It's that part where you're going to insult me. You're going to tell me I'm not supposed to support you anymore. You don't want my support anymore. This is just an issue of self-respect at this point. It's beyond political. Like you're telling me that you demand complete and total blind loyalty. Otherwise, you're not welcome in this camp. And the thing that sucks is that's not how you arrive at the truth, of course. That's the most important thing. That's not how you build good leadership either. Blind loyalty does not build good leaders. Good leaders need to have counter voices, even voices of criticism. They need to be able to take criticism because that's part of the job. I know Trump's never been great at that. I'm not expecting him to become someone he's not, but this stuff is so far beyond what is necessary. Even if you want to dig your heels in, you're now going insulting your core supporters and telling them to fuck off effectively. I have no idea why he's doing this or who. Why hasn't there been an intervention at the White House to stop him from doing this stuff?
I mean, I want to convince myself that this was just the result of Donald Trump's first beer. But but yeah, no, I got nothing. I can't defend this at all.
If he had a sponsored
been a huge
post
supporter of his, I've been willing, I've been willing to give him more than the benefit of the doubt. I was really trusting in him. But I can't explain this at all. This just seems so, it seems unhinged.
It's an abusive relationship. You still think the relationship is valuable and you want to maintain it, but they're still saying to you, I hate you. You ruined my life. Go away. And it's like, well, but we're committed to each other, man. I'm not committed to Donald Trump like I am.
Bitch fight. He's not supposed to be having it with his supporters.
It's just inexcusable, and it's beyond the political issue itself. If you're telling me agree with me 100% or I don't want your support, I'm sorry, dude. I'm out for anybody at that point. That's a standard that just can't be met, nor should it be met.
Yeah.
But so I can't believe how idiotic it is from that perspective, like telling your supporters to go away. If it's a hoax, again, why wouldn't you release the information showing it's a hoax? That would be to your political benefit. And I want to support Trump. I generally do, but I feel like if I, it's just a weird spot. I feel like if I do, I'm not obeying his wishes. He told me I need to go away, but I feel like I'm disrespecting myself if I allow this sort of disrespect to people like us to continue. So I don't know. I feel like I just need to. I'm so sick of this story for that reason, even though the truth of what happened here is so important that I can't be sick of this story. You can't just let this one slide. You can't just walk away from this. Yeah, well, that one sucked.
At least we have a good economy. There were loads of children raped, but at least we have a good economy.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I agree. That doesn't work like that.
So I just don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated.
He really picked the worst topic to do this with, too.
Yeah. I know.
We were able to forgive him kind of for the bump stock bullshit in his first term. I was one of the things that he did in his first term that I hated the most. I was able to get past it and vote for him again. But I mean, he has a long road to climb back from this fall.
It is, and you can't blame people for getting suspicious. Of course, we all naturally do. If his position before was, if you don't like tariffs, then you can fuck off and be like, well, that seems like bad political messaging, but okay. When your hardcore fuck off stance is in the protection of either perceived or actual of at least a pedophile and his pedophile assistant, but by your own description, a guy who victimized 1,000 people, when you're taking the fuck off sword in defense of whatever happened there, it is very difficult to get on board with that. I don't know. But here's the thing. Here's the only hope the only silver lining. I don't know. The only hope that Donald Trump has to make himself seem better by comparison. And that, of course, is the Democrat Party. Recall Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson. He was famously worried back in 2010 that if we put too much military personnel and equipment on the island of Guam, at least on one side, the island would capsize. It would tip over like an imbalanced boat. And that would be a big problem. But I guess he's also musically inclined, Hank Johnson. So he plays guitar, he sings, and this week he released an absolute banger all about releasing the Epstein files.
Congressman Hank Johnson coming to give you some more ear candy or perhaps an earache. Epstein died by suicide. Believe that and you must be blind. You've been telling us you released the file, but where are they? We're gone along with
it's only a couple verses, don't worry.
Plenty of time, you're in control, but now you say you will withhold the Epstein file. Trump's howling at the moon. Release the Epstein files soon.
Boo. I hate you all. Die, die, die.
Are you back on Trump's team, or have you joined Hank Johnson?
Yeah, thank you for that. I needed that sort of palate cleanser to realize who our true enemies are.
I'm convinced it's a Democrat hoax. Let's move on. You don't.
Okay. Yeah, no. That was that was like what that was like that sound you get when you take a violin bow and you drag it horrifically across a marimba key to make those horror movie screech.
Yeah, I think
screeches.
I know what you're talking. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what that sounded like to me.
Well, speaking of Congress, what about Congress? As discussed on Sunday, Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna planned to try to force a vote in Congress on releasing the Epstein files. As expected, that went exactly nowhere. I'm not totally clear on the process here. It's a little bit complicated and in the weeds. But this amendment had to clear committee. This was the House Rules Committee. Ro Khanna's amendment that would have forced Pam Bondi to publish the Epstein files, it lost the committee vote 5-7. So for now, it's not even going to get a full House vote. 4 Democrats and 1 Republican on the committee voted for the amendment. 7 Republicans opposed. And when I talked about this on Sunday, I assumed that Speaker Johnson himself would oppose any congressional move to force the Epstein files. Well, apparently not.
You are fake news.
Very fake news.
Or at least he's talking like he favors release and he favors transparency. But so I think it's just talk. I think that's all it is. Yesterday, Mike Johnson called for the DOJ to release all its Epstein information. He says he's in favor of full transparency. But the question remains, okay, so what are you as the Speaker of the House doing to exercise Congress's authority to potentially compel release of Epstein information? And as far as I gather, the answer is nothing. So until I see meaningful movement to try to force some Epstein release, it's just talk. And I assume that he's not doing that because Johnson knows he doesn't have the votes to do that, or he doesn't want to cross Donald Trump in that way. But saying that you support transparency without using your position of power to pursue transparency is not really worth much. So until he does something, I don't know if I believe Mike Johnson here.
Well, Johnson's been kind of unreliable for the entire time that this administration's been in power. So I'm not sure. I mean, he's done good things, and then he's done things that make you go, why are you here? This is not shocking to me. It's easy to talk a big game, but those Democrats who are coming out in favor of releasing the Epstein files and all that stuff, every single one of them is just dancing on the opportunity.
Well,
right?
And Hank
they had
Johnson,
4 years to get this shit done.
Yeah, exactly.
While Biden was in
Hank
office.
Johnson,
and they didn't even have to go through Biden for that shit. They could have just gone and manipulated his auto pin themselves, and it would have worked just fine. But they didn't say thing one about it for the last 4 years, and now all of a sudden it's a big thing. It's so transparently political and so transparently opportunistic that none of these people you can really take seriously. Like, I was watching Tim Pool's show the other day, where Tim was praising Ro Khanna for standing on principle and for coming out and saying that the Epstein files should be released and all this stuff. And I think he was maybe a little bit more how do I put it? He may have been being a little bit cynical, but basically, as I understand it, he and Ro Khanna kind of get along. And I just thought to myself, like, this guy's a clown. Ro Khanna had every opportunity to bring this stuff up if he actually cared about it. Every single day that he was in session, that he was at work the last 4 years, and he didn't do shit about it. How can you then suddenly praise him because he's clearly jumping on an opportunity to do something where he knows he can protest loudly and his voice doesn't matter in the slightest?
Yeah, I would appreciate a congressional effort to get the release on this insofar as it produces the truth. But I certainly take your point. When Hank Johnson is going to sing about, you guys are in power, what are you hiding? Or Ro Khanna is tweeting things to the same effect. Well, what are they? What don't they want out there? Right. You guys had your guy in power for years. I never heard a peep about any of this stuff. So no doubt it's about convenience for them and political utility rather than the truth. However, sometimes those things can overlap. Like if Democrats worked with some Republicans to make some sort of force effort on the Epstein files, I'll question their motives, but I would still be glad to have the truth as the result. You know what I mean?
I can understand that, but I think they're only able to crow about it now because they know it will go nowhere. Because I imagine that if they were crowing about it when things could actually be done about it, if they were bitching about this while they had the House and the Senate and the presidency and all that stuff, then all of a sudden a whole bunch of them would have been unelected, right?
Yeah.
In their they would have lost some really powerful friends all of a sudden, but now it doesn't matter because they can scream about this shit to the hills and it won't go anywhere because nobody's listening.
Well, there's also the question of what's going on with FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Remember, it was reported late last week that Dan was out of the office and considering resignation. He wasn't in the office on Friday, that is. And this was over his feud with Pam Bondi and opposition to how she's handled all of this. Really, since the weekend, there aren't a lot of meaningful updates. There's nothing official, though you do have sources speaking with CNN and other publications. Now, Trump did offer some commentary with reporters within the last couple of days, saying he likes Dan, he supports Dan, he didn't rip him. And these sources speaking with CNN say Dan Bongino was at work on Monday morning. Kind of sounds like Dan went into hiding over the weekend As of Monday morning, nobody in DOJ leadership had spoken with Dan since the fight with Pam Bondi on Wednesday. Sources tell CNN that privately, Trump is not happy with Dan Bongino, and Bongino is not happy either, so J.D. Vance has been trying to mediate in recent days. According to this report, many in the DOJ and FBI believe that the relationship between Trump and Bondi and Bongino is now untenable. So if Dan doesn't resign soon, they don't think he's going to last very long. And if he does leave and if he does talk, I think Dan's perspective on how all of this played out is maybe the one thing besides the files themselves that people want to see and hear. So I certainly would like to hear his side of the story. Although I
think if he leaves, they're going to slap him with such a giant NDA that he's not going to be able to say anything about it.
Yeah, I suppose they probably would figure out some sort of legal mechanism against him. And then he'd be in a really tough spot where he's out of the FBI, he's out of the administration. He has to go, he doesn't have to, but I assume he'd go back to his show, which was,
he could be a human again.
A big show for a reason, But if you can't, if he goes back to his show and he can't talk about it, oof, that's going to be rough.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And again, the Dan Bongino from the show right before he took this job and the Dan Bongino from that interview with he and Kash Patel and was it Brett Baer?
I can't remember who. Yeah,
Two
it might have been
completely
Fox.
different human beings.
He's been programmed by the system, you think?
I don't think it's programming. I think it's depression.
Oh, interesting. It's like not even intentional. It's just an inherent byproduct.
Yeah, no, because I mean, he was happy, he was energetic, he was thankful for the opportunity to go and serve right before he went in. And then we see him in that interview and he's like, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
I've seen the file.
That's what we know now. I've seen the file. Who are you?
Well, Pam Bondi was asked about Dan Bongino at a press conference on fentanyl yesterday, and she refused to answer, of course.
Is there disruption at the leadership of DOJ and the FBI with your relationship with Dan Bongino that is affecting the operation?
No, I'm not going to talk about personnel matters. No, I was with Director Patel all morning, and we are committed to keeping America safe, making America safe. And that's what we're focused on. And today, we're focused on protecting our kids.
We don't have time to talk about Epstein.
And Patel's in the background going, God damn it, woman, stop dragging my name through the mud with you.
Now, I get it. This event has a purpose. It's not, you generally don't get into personnel matters at inappropriate times as a rule. That's understandable. I don't think she's at fault for that. However, why doesn't Pam Bondi have a press conference about Epstein? So these questions might be answered in an appropriate, focused setting.
And nobody believes her anymore, so there's really no good answers that she could give.
Well, the truth is always a great answer if you can provide it.
Nowadays, you know what? Now, given her track record, you could tell me that the sky will be green tomorrow morning, and I would believe that over anything she has to say, true or not.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, refuse to answer questions in any setting, which is what she's going with now. I think she's just answered the one that prompted Trump to chastise that reporter.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
And she said, well, when I said the Epstein client list is on my desk, I meant the files generally. And I don't think she's answered a question about it beyond that. And when you refuse to answer questions about something that has been as high profile as it is by your design with your release of the phase 1 binders to those people, and then it turns out that phase 2 is there are no more phases and please shut up. Yeah, it starts to look awfully suspicious. So, but Pam Bondi, great job, Pam Bondi. Everyone loves Pam Bondi. You've heard all about it. Anyway, I got a text before the show. Apparently, Pam Bondi fired Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter. She was like a U.S. attorney of some kind.
About that. Yeah.
I was joking at the end of the video I posted earlier today that if Pam Bondi, despite the pardon, decides to go pardon Fauci or prosecute Fauci, not pardon him, go charge Fauci with perjury, like Rand Paul is asking the Justice Department to do. Well, let me pose the question to you. Obviously, I don't think it's not a deal you would take, but if Pam Bondi pulls a stunt like charging Fauci as a means to earn favor back and deflect from the Epstein debacle, how many points do you award that?
Like points to her specifically?
I'm just saying, like, okay, Pam Bondi's very damaged from the Epstein stuff and some other things, but a lot of damage from the Epstein stuff. How much damage is undone by her prosecuting Dr. Fauci?
Okay, just because you can hit a ball with a broken golf club doesn't mean that's not still a broken golf club.
Okay. I would still enjoy the sight of it, I guess. Would it make me trust Pam Bondi? No, but I would clap like a seal for a minute.
Like twirl off into the distance would be, I mean, fun to watch. But yeah, I don't know. I think her reputation is damaged beyond repair at this point.
Well, I'm sure we'll have some more Epstein thoughts. I know we will later, and maybe we'll have some calls, but I know we will in the emails. So we'll save Epstein thoughts for then. With our remaining time, I want to talk about some of these Minnesota stories. But remember a month ago with that insane guy in suburban Twin Cities with the Papa John's manager roommate, the guy who put on the bizarre rubber mask and dressed up like a cop and then murdered the former speaker of the Minnesota House and her husband at her home.
And tried two others.
Yeah, a state senator and his wife as well. And as far as I'm aware, they have recovered or they're in good shape, but they're not dead. And then the guy had the No Kings flyers in his car. And then his Papa John's manager roommate said he loved Trump, so everyone was trying to blame their political opposition for him. That guy. That's Vance Boelter. He is now indicted on 6 federal charges, including murder and stalking. He also faces Minnesota state charges for those killings, murder charges. He's locked up 30 miles north of Minneapolis. Now, he has offered some commentary, which I'll get to in a minute. But one of the missing pieces from the story was this manifesto that police said they recovered from his car, which was rumored to say that Tim Walz hired Vance Boelter to kill Amy Klobuchar. Well, now the full handwritten letter is out, and it does indeed say that. He was a shooter working for Tim Walz.
I've become friends with school shooters.
According to his own description, at least. It doesn't mean it's true.
He even has the serial killer chicken scratch. That's great.
I'm not saying I trust this guy fully. In addition to his handwriting, he's done and said several kooky things. Now, I'm not going to try to read from this handwritten letter. There are AI transcriptions of it, which I believe to be fairly accurate. I kind of read through the letter as best I could in his writing. But the letter itself is even longer than a Trump Truth Social post about the Epstein hoax. So I'm just going to go through some highlights here. It's addressed to FBI Director Kash Patel, this letter that Vance Boelter wrote. He says he was hired by the U.S. military off the books starting in college, presumably for his elite skills or something, and he was working on projects across the globe, all the different continents. Recently, he was approached by Tim Walz for help with a project. Tim Walz wanted him to kill Amy Klobuchar.
I've become friends with school shooters.
And Tim wanted to kill Amy because Tim wants to be a U.S. senator, and Amy is in the way. He needs her out of the way. Now, as I questioned at the time that this story broke, why would he need Amy Klobuchar out of the way? Tina Smith, the other senator from Minnesota, is retiring, and they're going to replace her next year. Tim Walz could just end his term as governor. He could run for senator. He'd probably be the favorite to win that Senate seat. He's a very easy path to the Senate if he wants it. But according to Vance Boelter, Tim doesn't believe that Tina Smith is going to retire. She's going to stay. And so that's why Tim recruited Vance Boelter to kill Amy Klobuchar. Now, Vance Boelter, being the upstanding moral character that he is, he told Tim Walz he wants nothing to do with this plot of his. And that if Tim Walz doesn't call off this plot to kill Amy Klobuchar, well, then Boelter is going to go public. And this is where the AI transcription gets funny. Tim Walz, in response to Boelter's threat to go public about this scandal, Tim Walz said he would eat and hurt. He would eat and hurt Boelter's family if he doesn't play ball.
I will eat your ass.
Presumably in that order.
Eat them, then hurt them. Now, I looked at the handwriting. It's hard to see. I didn't highlight it where it is in here, but it doesn't say eat. The handwriting does not. It's just an AI error, but it turned out really funny. But anyway, so Boelter was threatened. Because he was threatened, by Walz. Walz sent some of his goons after him. He had a meeting with these goons, and at the meeting, they tried to kill Boelter, but Boelter escaped. And then Boelter says, so he went back to kill them. Now, who are they? Does he mean that's the people he killed? The former House Speaker, her husband, the state senator, his wife, tried to kill at least? Unclear who he means here. But Boelter says that's why he didn't fire any shots at police. Now, my understanding is that's contrary to what police say. I thought it was reported that when police confronted him at the home of this former House Speaker he murdered, allegedly, that he fired at police and they took cover and he ran into the house and escaped. I thought that's how it went, but maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. Anyway, Boelter says that Tim Walz will deny knowing him, probably destroy any record of knowing him. And so Kash Patel, please investigate this man and get to the bottom of this Tim Walz plot. So I don't know. Like you say that you would believe the sky is green if Pam Bondi told you that it's blue. That's kind of how I feel about this story. It's like, well, I know this is insane, but let's hear him out. Did Tim Walz actually do this?
Yeah, this shit reads like MK Ultra never ended. I mean,
maybe
like, this sounds like the ravings of a madman whose madness was inflicted upon him.
I just wonder. Okay, do I believe this story as written? No. Does it seem kooky and crazy? Yes. However, is it possible that there's some truth to what he's talking about here? He might be a total lunatic that maybe did have some contact with the military or the CIA or something like that explains why he has this understanding in his head. Is it possible that he did once talk to Tim Walz or a representative of Tim Walz and some kooky things were said? I don't buy the story, of course. I just wonder, are there kernels of truth behind it? Or was it just made up out of nothing?
No. See, here's the thing. It wasn't Tim Walz. It was Tim Kaine. Have you ever seen those two next to each other?
I can't remember which one is which. Yeah. Anyway, the guy also, Vance Boelter also gave a jailhouse interview or exchanged messages with a New York Post reporter. That was published over the weekend. It doesn't add much detail because he's not going to tell you about the details of his case, obviously, since I assume he intends to fight the charges, or at least for now. But Boelter said he can't talk about the case. He says it doesn't involve either Trump stuff or abortion. Remember, the pro-life perspective was speculated because that was said by his Papa John's manager roommate, that Boelter was very, very pro-life. So it must have something to do with his pro-life perspective. He said, in part, I will just say there's a lot of information that will come out in the future that people will look at and judge for themselves that goes back 24 months before the 14th, so 2 years prior to his assassinations and attempted assassinations, if the governor ever lets it get out. So Tim Walz investigation win.
I don't think it's going to amount to anything, but that's the benefit of hiring crazy people, right?
Well, Pam Bondi, you go get Dr. Fauci. Kash Patel, you go get Tim Walz. And maybe, just maybe, I'll forget about Epstein for about 5 seconds. It's the best hope that you've got. I suggest they get right on it. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Somali man running for Minneapolis mayor. And I would ask you if you're familiar, but you nailed his head shape. So obviously you've seen. He's being compared to Zoran Mamdani in New York, but it's not just that they have perhaps similar life stories immigrating to this country, similar political perspectives insofar as they both identify as democratic socialists, but actually this Minneapolis Somali guy, Omar Fateh, I think is how you say his name, he was phone banking for Mamdani just a few weeks ago. So will he have a similar path? Of course, Mamdani ended up taking out heavy favorite Andrew Cuomo in the Democrat mayoral primary in New York, in part because Mamdani had such appeal with young voters.
He touched young people.
So will Omar Fateh touch as many young people in Minneapolis as Zoran Mamdani touched in New York? We will have to see. But Omar Fateh is a 35-year-old current Democrat state senator in Minnesota. He is, of course, the son of Somali immigrants, though I read that he was born here. He's not I guess he's not an immigrant himself in that way, but he's the son of immigrants.
Oh, that could have fooled me.
Look
at him.
Look
at that face. That's amazing.
It would be hard to take the Somalia out of this man. Let's put it that way. I don't know that you could separate the Somalia from this man.
Look at me. I am the man now.
He's historic. He's an historic state senator. He's the first Somali to serve in the Minnesota Senate, believed to be the first Somali state senator in the U.S. And as I mentioned, like Mamdani, he calls himself a democratic socialist. So now he's running for Minneapolis mayor. And in a campaign ad released within the last week, he says his top issues are making the city affordable and replacing police with social workers.
I've also been fighting for you, passing things like tuition-free college for working-class families, rideshare protections for our Uber and Lyft drivers, and the legalization of fentanyl testing strips. But this summer, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me, because we deserve nice things in Minneapolis too. To make an affordable Minneapolis that works for everyone, we need a mayor that works as hard as you do. I'm ready to work hard to 1. Build a Minneapolis that working people can afford to call home. 2. Protect our city from a hostile White House. And 3, diversify our city's public safety response. By increasing the minimum wage to $20 by 2028 and passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers. Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE, whether it's for an immigration raid or not. Our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers. Investments in programs like these ensure that the appropriate response arrives when we call 911. And we can actually free up police resources to focus on violent crime that detracts from community safety.
Okay. Why don't they have nice things in Minneapolis? Why doesn't Minneapolis work for everyone?
Because just like in Somalia, they burn that shit down every time they have it.
Yeah, you already have little Mogadishu. Why is Minneapolis struggling, as has said in some other commentary? I think he should let me be his campaign manager, because if the premise is Minneapolis is struggling, why his campaign slogan should be make Minneapolis even greater than Mogadishu. He should go with that. You know, Mogadishu's awesome. If we could make Minneapolis a hopeful reflection of that prosperous global city, then maybe Minneapolis has some hope. But when he talks about, obviously, people get all uptight because the criticism of Omar Fateh is racist. Da, 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 da. All right, we've done our fair share of head-shaped criticism on this particular stream. The policies he's talking about are completely insane. So wipe all of that aside. It's incoherent when he says that you are going to install rent stabilization. In other words, control how much the rent can be increased. You are price fixing rent, or at least you're not allowing increases of a certain amount. But also you're going to incentivize new construction. There is no incentive for new construction when you are telling builders or developers they can't charge X for the property, or they can't rent at X rate. If there's no money to be made for them, they don't build. So I don't understand what he means by saying, I'm going to control the prices at which these things are rented, but also give incentives for people to build.
You have already put more thought into this than he has.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
And I mean, it's not his fault. How do you think with a head that shape?
There looks like a lot of room for big brain in there.
No, room. Room is the key.
47.
God, it looks like a balloon.
47.
Can't get over this.
47% of police calls can be diverted to a non-police response. I thought this was I want to see the data on this. What does that mean? 47% of police calls. Because when you call 911, you're of course going to encounter dispatch. Dispatch is going to deploy police officers. So are you talking about calls to the police department on a non-emergency basis? I mean, that would makes sense that not all of those require the deployment of a police officer. But regardless, you're trying to tell me in a crime-ridden city that the problem is just not enough babysitters walking around? No, the problem is criminals committing crimes. You're going to have to get serious about arresting them, putting them in prison. No babysitter can do that. I don't care how many state-funded, city-funded babysitters you deploy. They're not going to get that situation under control. But I don't know. Maybe they have in Mogadishu. I should look. They have a fantastic army of social workers building prosperity in Mogadishu. I haven't seen it.
I'm at least fairly certain it's still controlled by warlords, but you know.
So what's his actual political prospect here? Now, like Mamdani in New York, he'll have to take out an incumbent. It's a little bit different, though. The process is kind of confusing to me. It's one of those ranked choice voting setups. So there are 4 other DFL or Democrats running, plus the incumbent DFL mayor, Jacob Frey, the guy who cried about George Floyd and stuff. He kind of looks like, that guy Justin Trudeau look-alike, but he's the mayor of Minneapolis. But in Minneapolis, there's no primary because of that ranked choice voting system. So as far as I gather, all these Democrats are just going to run together, and then it's going to be ranked choice voted down to 1, I think is how it's going to work. The party, the Minnesota Democrat Party, the DFL, they will determine their endorsement this weekend, July 19th. One would assume that the incumbent mayor, Jacob Frey, has the edge in that endorsement. We'll see, though. And maybe people who understand how the ranked choice system thing works a little bit better could explain it to me. If these guys don't consolidate, these 4, 5, 6, however many Democrat candidates there are, if they don't consolidate into like 1 or into 2, I guess, because no Republican has any purpose to run there, is it possible that this could play out in a weird way where even if Omar Fateh doesn't have broad support, that he just gets enough support to meander through this ranked choice system and potentially have a shot at winning? I don't know. Do you understand ranked choice? It's kind of I get it. I get how it works. But
I went through and I read up on how it works like years ago, and then I've since forgotten it.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. But
if people
basically, it just means no one's happy, and you get a basically random choice that that pleases no one.
I don't know how this.
It's how we got. What's her name? Murkowski.
Because Alaska,
right?
Yeah. And I don't know how the specific system in Minneapolis works, but yeah, generally, like you get a ballot, instead of voting for that guy, you rank them in order of your preference. So whoever has the most preference points, I guess, or people are eliminated based on how they're ranked until eventually there's a winner. But it's in a way you sort of vote for everybody. You give an indicator of your support for everybody, or the degree to which you support them. And that produces some goofy results sometimes. But
it means that basically everybody in Alaska hates Murkowski, but because she's on there and the way that things are sort of laid out, she gets it every time.
Yeah. One more quick topic, and then we'll get into your calls. Appreciate your patience, callers, and then we'll check in on emails too, and super chatters as well. Thank you guys for supporting the show. But as we were talking about at the top, it has been long claimed that Democrats hire mobs for their political activities, and claimed is putting it politely, because I think this is demonstrated fact, as we're about to discuss. But Antifa riots to just political rallies, Democrats are often accused of paying people to show up, to make the event seem bigger or more successful than it actually is. And it really seemed obvious with Kamala Harris's campaign, because they were busing people in to her speeches. Like, why are all of these people on buses in the first place? But there was cell phone location data supporting that claim too. Many of these same people were showing up at her events all across the country, and they're also linked to Antifa and Black Lives Matter actions too. Well, as we were talking about, there's a company called Crowds on Demand that apparently provides these hired crowd services in many contexts. It's not just politics. If you're like an aspiring celebrity who wants to give the impression of having paparazzi follow you, they do that. If you are selling a book, and your book is not particularly interesting, but you want to give the impression that everyone's lined up to get signed copies of your book, they do that. There are all sorts of reasons people want crowds beyond just political optics. But of course, political optics are part of their business. And Crowds on Demand, they don't say like, we just provide a mass of bodies to you. They say that they recruit people for advocacy campaigns. But of course, that's not what they're doing. They're not convincing people that this advocacy is worthwhile, and thus they're doing the advocacy on their own behalf because they've been convinced. They tell them what to say, and this has happened in many different instances with this company. CEO Adam Swart
fill in Kamala's rallies.
Yeah, there are a couple of cases I want to talk about after the commentary from the CEO here. But the CEO and founder is Adam Swart. He says that he was approached by people involved in anti-Trump protests that are planned for tomorrow, July 17th. He says he rejected a contract with them that would have been worth about $20 million because he doesn't think it would be effective to deploy his hired mobs, at least for this particular purpose.
Have the organizers of the July 17th demonstrations approached you?
Interests aligned with the organizers of the July 17th movement have approached us. And in fact, we rejected an offer that probably is worth around $20 million.
$20 million?
Correct. I mean, this is a nationwide thing, right? It's not to say I would have made $20 million personally, but the value of the contract would have been worth around that amount nationwide to organize huge demonstrations around the country. But personally, I just don't think it's effective. So it's not I'm not trying to call myself virtuous for rejecting it. What I'm saying is, I'm rejecting it not because I don't want to take the business, but because, frankly, this is going to be ineffective. It's going to make us all look bad.
So I asked Swart who exactly offered him the $20 million. That, of course, was the natural question, but he says he would not say, says he does not talk about who exactly his clients are, that it would be bad for business, and he's been in business for 15 years, and he has to turn down a lot of contracts.
We're not paid actors. It really happened.
I want to know how many paid actors 20 million buys.
Yeah, really. And I'm shocked that he turned it down with those eyes. You see the way he was looking at the camera. It was like he was going to eat it.
Were they shaped like upside down teardrops?
No, he he just had the wonderful 1,000-yard stare SSR eyes.
So well, maybe he's MK Ultra too. Who knows?
I don't know. I doubt it. But
he looks like he's mind controlled in one way or another, I guess. What he's selling is mind control, though. Like he's not actually doing the controlling, but he's hiring people to offer a particular perspective. It's like rented mind control for a day.
He's offering deception.
Yeah,
is what he's offering.
Yeah.
He's offering the illusion of great support where none exists.
Yeah, or great opposition, like in the context of the Trump protests.
Well, by which I meant great support for a cause, i.e. the opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Now, it's that kind of shit that really does make me go, all right, you know what? Fine. Epstein killed himself. Jesus. But I'm
it's
kidding.
A non-story. Let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you see this kind of evil and then you remember, okay, yeah, I hate what's going on with Epstein. I hate Trump's words, but there really are greater evils out there.
Yeah. I mean,
and
what's a pedophile ring involving 1,000 victims compared to this degenerate hiring mobs to heckle people?
All right. You're right. Maybe I misspoke, but
no,
I think you get what I'm trying to say.
I do. It actually is a very frustrating situation. I totally understand where you're coming from. But according to the company description on Wikipedia, these crowds on demand, they're often offered for, like I said, celebrities, public figures, giving them the opportunity to appear as though they're more supported than they are, or they have more fans than they do. The CEO guy says he doesn't want to do this particular piece of anti-Trump politics. However, he does a lot of politics. It was claimed in 2013 that disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner used crowds on demand for his campaign for New York City mayor, though Weiner denied that. There was also a case in 2016 where a paid protester claimed to be a concerned citizen speaking against a development project at a city council meeting in Camarillo, California. He was given a script by whoever hired crowds on demand. The CEO says his company has worked with dozens of campaigns and even presidential candidates, but again, he won't say who because he wants to maintain his business. Notably, this company, they have operations where you'd expect: New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, DC, but then Iowa and New Hampshire. Why in God's name do they have operations? Why do they have offices in Iowa and New Hampshire?
Well, you know why they needed one in Las Vegas. It was so that there was enough people gathered in one place to shoot out of a window from. I'm just kidding.
Maybe you've cracked the code on that case. But yeah, what are you doing? You're meddling in the caucus. You're meddling in the primary. Every presidential cycle. That's why you have offices in Iowa and New Hampshire. What is this? Okay. And the bottom line, whatever's going on here, because of course they won't tell you everything they're doing. This company's been in business for 15 years. They've been making money. I don't know if they're profitable or not, but this is an operation that has sustained for 15 years. You have to ask exactly what crowds on demand have they produced? How much of what you see out in public that is crowds operating on behalf of this perspective or that is authentic? How much of it was paid by some client of crowds on demand? And this is a real company with real employees. How do you get hired by crowds on demand? There's got to be like somebody do an O'Keefe style video where I want to see what the process of getting hired by crowds on demand is like. And then when you get the call that you're supposed to show up, I just want to see what this looks like when it's in operation.
He has an entire department dedicated to I-9s.
It's the fact that this company has been operating for this long and has this many offices too. This is not like a guy in his garage. This is something much more sophisticated. So anyway, got to move into calls. So we'll get right to it. You want to hop in the Discord server?
Oh, that's right. I forgot to do that again.
That's all right.
I'm so used to being here Sundays now that.
Well, you took a long break too, you know?
Yeah, that too, yeah.
I'm going to get Golden Leaf in here. I'm sure you'll be in here momentarily. Golden Leaf, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Batman's got to join our room here for a second, so he can't hear you for just a moment. There we go. But what's on your mind?
Well, I know there's been a lot of talk about the Trump Epstein talk. I mean, a lot. But I wanted to talk about something different. Have you seen the video? Because I just got off work. I don't know if you did. Of the attempted firebombing of the Michigan GOP HQ?
No, I didn't even hear about
this. I heard about this, but I don't know anything about it.
So, we don't know if it's a man or woman, but from the way the individual threw the Molotov and ran away, it's up to suggestions. But basically, it was captured on video of this person looking around. There were cars pass by every now and then, and this person was starting to light a Molotov. Now, Matt, you've probably thrown a baseball or two in your time. How do you normally would do a throw if you're going to throw something hard?
Well, I guess it's hard to describe, but I could give you the motion. You know, you kind of cock your arm behind your head and extend your arm, whipping around. And
I'm guessing the direction this is going is this person limp-wristed it like a faggot.
Let me.
Yes.
Okay, I think I found the video. Let me pull up the video, and I know you're a little bit on delay here, but can you tell me? Do you have the stream running right now?
Yes, I have the stream run. I have it muted. I'm just waiting to see the
video. We'll give it like 20 seconds. You keep describing, and then when you see actually the video here, you tell me if this is the right video.
So as this person threw it in the most limp-wristed throw ever, which I kind of found funny, the way this person ran. I see that video that you posted. Yeah, that is the video. Okay. Look at the person running and tell me that is not a normal person.
Look at this.
And given the style of dress and then the broadness of the shoulders and the utter lack of any hips, I'm thinking this is a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
This piece of shit, they probably got age, you know?
The mythical Tyrannosaurus Rex, yes.
I've only heard about that in Legends.
Wait, what is that different from a normal tranny?
No.
It's a particularly vicious tranny, a Molotov throwing tranny.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, you saw the throw, and then the run is just like.
Oh God, I don't want to be near this.
I'm gonna see it one more time. Think about it for a minute.
Yes. Watch the throw, and then enjoy them run around. I think they had trouble trying to light it because it seems windy, but just turn your back so that way the wind's not in the flames. But this is the first time ever interacted with someone's fire.
The weirdest part is he's running like he's in heels.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I don't think it.
I don't think he's actually wearing heels, but the style of run. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing now that you're saying like running in heels, I can kind of see that motion.
This one more time on the run here. Here we go.
Oh, you're really analyzing it.
It's the most goddamn faggy thing you ever seen.
Absolutely, Alex.
That was the thing about all the Tesla attacks in the spring and early winter too, was there were so many trannies doing it. And that was treated as some kind of conspiracy theory, but it's like, all right, I know that there aren't a lot of trannies out there, so any one particular case is hard to draw conclusions statistically. But
yeah, they're saying
there's a lot of trannies attacking Tesla places, and this is the same sort of thing, like another tranny throwing a Molotov at something.
Well, and a whole bunch
Tesla,
of the
Tesla, it's a GOP at HQ, and they're saying that it is I didn't see that 19 years old.
Zane
Dude.
Arcand. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is a very faggoty name.
Well, Zane is a man's name, right? Although it's Zayn instead of Zane.
Oh my god! But they're saying it's a man, so I mean, dude,
until tomorrow it'll be corrected to Zoe, or something like that. It will. That's how it happens.
Yeah. They'll. I can't wait to see the actual news to report that Zoe, whatever, a 19-year-old female. It's like, no. If I can see your Adam's apple and you have twigs and berries, you're not a female.
Well, I can see your Adam's apple from this footage. Then,
yes.
Thanks for telling me about this. I had not seen this yet. This is news to me, so I'm going to look into this a little bit more.
Yeah, you can see that Adam's apple on 360p. It's an entire pixel.
Let's see how close can we get here.
This also reminds me of all the other attempted, like, I wouldn't say firebombings, but attacks on GOP HQs, headquarters in other states. So I don't see this as a trend. I hope I don't want to see this as a trend of other GOP HQs getting hit. But I don't know. We'll have to see how crazy people are getting, especially with this anti-ICE narrative and even some people pulling guns.
Well, it is crazy how those are non-stories too. You got shootings happening on a pretty regular basis
Cops
against
ambush.
Yeah, ICE and Border Patrol.
I was going to say when it comes to tranny or whatever violence, I mean you can find stories like that every day. It's crazy.
So before I go, since I've already extended my time, I mean there was that story of that weird tranny cult that killed a Border Patrol officer.
The Zizians.
Yeah, that is. I mean, we already said that this is a mental disease, but they're just you're really just proving the point. You guys are not helping.
They're a bunch of serial killers, and they're finally being brought to justice. But yeah, all right. Are you still doing the joke bit, or are you out of here?
No, I am very tired. Had to deal with stuff security wise on my job, and not basically banning someone that didn't want to listen. Had to call the cops on him, so not fun.
All right, next time.
Good times.
Next time you bring a punchline. All right.
I will try if I'm not stressed.
Have a good night.
Take care, gents.
But yeah, when it comes to tranny violence, I mean, we have loads of them that are, we have lots and lots of examples of them doing this in a way that suggests that it's not, it's statistically bizarre.
Yeah, the mental illness might have manifestations. Who would have thought?
Gosh, who would have thought? I mean, so I actually have a list pulled up here, short list, but just from the last few years, we have a Devin Erickson and Alec McKinney, a Snochia Mosley, Audrey Hale, of course, Salvador Ramos, Colt Gray, Dylan Butler, Kim Brady character.
Salvador, wasn't that the Uvalde shooter? He was trans?
I guess it says unconfirmed on
this
list.
that one I'm skeptical of, but there are a lot.
Okay.
The problem is there are so many that I think that sometimes people reach. Like there was claims that the claims that the Idaho shooter was trans because he had like nice long hair. Remember that?
Yeah. I guess you're right. Maybe this is not exactly a believable list, but a whole bunch of them are straight up trans.
There are lots. It's not as though there's a shortage. Yeah. So anyway, okay. Let's talk to Skulldugger. Skulldugger, are you there?
I am.
What's on your mind?
Hey man, what's up?
I am actually going to talk about the Trump Epstein Pam Bondi madness.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
That was deployed well.
Yes, well done. So first of all, Pam Bondi is useless. I mean, I don't really have a lot of respect for the office of Attorney General because I can't even name the last trustworthy Attorney General. It may have been Bill Barr when he was with Reagan.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first time.
The first time. That may be the last good AG that we've actually even had. Like it's a treacherous position to begin with. But Pam Bondi has done more work as a Fox News contributor than she has as the Attorney General.
Absolutely.
So she is absolutely useless. But that being said, I do think there is there are reasons to sort of dial back the temperature and some of the rhetoric regarding the release of whatever file. First of all, we don't even know what files exist. Like nobody knows. Nobody knows what even exists. We don't know the nature of any of this documentation. So calling for its release is a little bit weird, in my opinion. Like especially saying that if you are not 100% behind the release of absolutely everything, then you are providing cover for pedophiles. Like
there's some absolutism on that end too. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's some
I
some
definitely
extreme rhetoric going on that can be dialed back for a more level-headed path forward.
I definitely agree, and I think for a long time I've been saying that the files don't exist anymore because there was far too long a period for the people who had access to it to destroy these files. Then, you know,
yeah. I mean, no matter what happens,
they had too
no
many
matter what
opportunities
happens,
to destroy it.
But the thing is, no matter what happens, there's so much hype around this that there is no actual satisfactory conclusion at this point. So even if they do end up releasing whatever it is they have, what if it's just really not all that compelling and it doesn't actually lead to much? Then you're going to have a whole bunch of unsatisfied people still claiming that there's some sort of cover-up going on, even if there might not actually be one.
And like you said, the problem with that was largely built by Pam Bondi on Fox News.
Yes.
Telling us how awesome it was. Not awesome, but you get what I mean. Like how massive this was.
So she just got out in front of her skis on this thing and started talking about stuff before she was ever actually in the know of what it is she had. Which
to the point
where
she had to publicize a letter to Kash Patel. Yeah.
That's the most charitable interpretation I can give her is it's like sort of either pick your incompetent explanation or your nefarious cover-up explanation. But Bondi does not come out clean on this one. I know a lot of people want to see her fired, but with the current political landscape, this is not a great time to be firing your AG and trying to get another one confirmed in the Senate. You will absolutely destroy a lot of whatever momentum or goodwill the administration has within the party. If you're trying to fracture the Republican Party more than people like Elon Musk is already doing, then go ahead and fire Pam Bondi and fight this in the Senate, and you will find those faction lines will become
Pam Bondi,
clear and very apparent.
Pam Bondi has a very luxurious scalp, and I would not be mad to see the scalp claimed. But to your point, I care more about the truth than Pam Bondi's scalp. And Pam Bondi, there are ways to get the truth out, or at least more of the truth out, without firing Pam if you feel like that's a mistake for any number of political reasons. So, I think even the most hardcore Pam critic, I hope, would be more motivated by the search for the truth of the Epstein stuff than seeing Pam out the door. If you have to choose between one of them.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
I can definitely understand why people are mad at Pam. Right?
Yeah, I mean, people should be. She has messed this up every way that she could have.
Yeah, and she's become the avatar for screwing this up, to all to hell and back. So I get why people are mad at her. I get why people want her fired. I will admit I haven't given a great deal of thought to the the political implications of firing anybody at that juncture, and I think that's in part because I doubt she's going to get fired. I don't think this administration is going to be touched right now, just because of how, I don't want to say closely knit, but how sort of ironclad they are.
And
if he fires Pam Bondi, the midterms are going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Literally everyone will be pissed off.
Yes, the Republicans will get trounced in the midterms.
They might already, but yeah.
I mean, they might already.
Yeah.
That is true, but it will get even worse if you go to the Senate with a divided Republican Party trying to confirm an AG, because you're gonna have people trying to make a name for themselves and doing some grandstanding. And it's going to get really, really messy really, really quick. And then there's going to be no way to try to pull back together and present a united front for the midterms. Like it's just going to be a full divisive split. And then, and then we just hand power over to the Democrats.
I got to let Skulldugger go because I got to keep it. But Skulldugger, we'll go Batman and Skulldugger after that, and we'll wind down here.
I've been talking about the right purity testing itself into a state of weakness for years, right? I've been talking about that shit since the Colin Show days. And so I mean, I politically speaking, I'm in agreement with you that we keep on making moves that split us, and then we attack each other for various differences when, again, as I said earlier in the show, we have larger enemies to focus on. But yeah, no. I'm there
Last words, Skulldugger?
Yeah, I just there's also one point that I don't really see a lot of people talking about, and that is the unintended consequences of releasing these files as it pertains to victims who may just want to remain anonymous and live out the rest of their lives and don't really feel like being thrust into the center of whatever this turns into.
I could definitely see that. Obviously, if you are involved, and you don't want to be a part of this public circus. I guess what I'm surprised by, though, is given the claim of 1,000 victims, that so far there's not one who's like, oh yeah, I'm one of them. Let me tell you, that sucked bad.
There definitely, if there's thousands of victims, there definitely would be some of them who just want to see justice get done. But I imagine there
wonder
are
how
others.
many of them. And I also wonder how many of them committed suicide by shooting themselves 3 times in the back of the head.
Yeah, maybe.
It happens.
The body count always climbs. That's how it works. Thank you, Skulldugger. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. You guys have a good one.
Have a good night.
Take care, man.
Okay. Get our last call from Fwen here. Fwen, are you there?
Yeah, hey there.
What's
nice
on your mind?
subtle self-suicide joke there, Batman. To
Oh,
the
I
back
know.
of the head. What's on my mind? You know, I don't know. The Epstein stuff is frustrating. I think I called in, last week and was a little frustrated about it. And I've even talked about before that, the nature of things and the speed of the news cycle, people spaz out and instead of just waiting to see how things end up getting resolved by the parties involved, it's like constant commentating on it, and a lot of it's I find to be silly in either direction. I mean, obviously, this is a disappointment in how it's been handled and all that. But yeah, realistically, there's probably not that much there as far as, they've had a lot of time to get rid of a lot of shit, but this isn't something that you get out over your skis on when you're the AG. This is way more than I fucked up a little bit in one of my press briefings or some shit, and I said this or that, and then I had to walk it back a day or two later. This is repeated over promising, and
yeah, it's by design. It's not like someone asked her a question that she fumbled a little bit with bad information. You made the binders, lady. You did the arts and crafts the night before. Who the hell did that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. The whole binder stunt. made this. It infused this with an air of such unbridled artifice, if you'll forgive me speaking like a fucking fag for a moment, that it's difficult to see it as anything other than an attempt at deception.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, while on that front, it's also stupid, and I said this last week, I think, to have expected anything to have come out. Like, whether that's stupid because the documents aren't around anymore, or just realistically, like, while Drain the Swamp is the campaign promise and all that, like, it would be pretty naive to think it's going that crazy. That's really like some Q, trust the plan, like Storm type shit, to
That's the
really
thing.
think like all the details of the Epstein file are coming out. It's like,
The
you gotta
swamp
be naive.
historically goes undefeated until it is thoroughly defeated. You get what I mean? Like, you don't defeat the swamp piece by piece. There is a massive revolution that undoes the swamp. And yeah, if for anyone who was listening to Pam Bondi earlier in the winter and the spring, maybe you were optimistic, but if you believed what she was saying, like, we're for sure going to get this and it's going to change everything, I guess that'll teach you to trust a government official, and maybe we should all learn our lesson in that way.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thought, Flan?
Yeah, just like some of the. I mean, I know that the plan trusting is largely like a meme, and like the language around it is just like, like shorthand for like, are you losing hope yet or not? But some of it, like, yeah, I don't know, trusting the plan, even like the framing of it is just like expecting too much and like extreme naivety to be like that you were going to trust for this to work out totally. Like, we're getting what we can get. Obviously, I want things to move in the right direction, but like, there's no grand plan that's going to be executed by these people that's like, I don't know, going to resolve stuff for us. So it's kind of like, are you trusting the plan? It's like, I don't fucking care. I mean, like, obviously I'm invested in this, but to some extent, like, I don't know, guys, not y'all in particular, but I watch Twitter a lot. I lurk. People are just losing their shit. And like, I know a lot of it's the commentators, and they're getting like rage bait and engagement from taking one side strongly one way or the other. But some of it's like, I don't know.
Well,
this isn't my life.
Yeah, Razorfist had the best take on this recently, I think, and that was, if anybody is pretending to give you any concrete information one way or the other about these files, they are lying to you, because nobody knows.
Yeah. I'll be very curious to see how this plays out long term here in the coming months, years, because this seems like a unstoppable force, immovable object. Like, if there's one thing you're never going to stop, it's people's curiosity and demand for whatever the hell happened with Jeffrey Epstein. However, the immovable object, I guess, in this metaphor, I will never say Trump's done for this time, because he's been done for so many times, and somehow he finds his way back. So even though my personal opinion is about as low as it ever has been based on the handling of this, with full recognition and appreciation for the things that are successful, this is such a botchery that it really has me in a negative mindset about the administration right now. I don't know, like, will they turn it around? Half a year from now, is there going to be some massive success that people just remember this and it's kind of a punchline, like, yeah, but the Epstein files? Or are people going to be banging down the door on this for the duration of his presidency, and it's going to follow him out the door at the White House and eventually to his grave?
This is bigger than, but we've already gone through rounds of Trump supposed to have released JFK documents, and the interview. Trump did an interview with Tucker in like 2023, and he said, I think Epstein committed suicide.
Yeah.
And people, if you had asked people a month ago, like, what has Trump said about Epstein committing suicide, they probably wouldn't remember. And obviously this is bigger, but yeah, this is going to be a footnote. It's not that big of a deal. Everybody keep your shit together, have a little patience. Not because you're trusting the plan
I was going to say
Trump's plan, but because you're trusting. It's really, it's divine providence.
Play out is what you're saying.
Yeah, the cunning of reason. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Flynn. Appreciate your call.
Yeah, have a nice night.
You as well.
Take care, man.
Okay, that'll do it for calls this evening. Appreciate all our callers, as always. I forgot to remind everyone, but or did I? I can't remember. But if you'd like to send a thought or a question for consideration on the show, you can do that through the contact page on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Look for the MC Live questions box. All right, we're going to catch up with some email questions. Or wait. No, I just got confused. Why would I have reminded you about the email questions when we were doing calls? Never mind. If you would like to send an email...
Having yourself a little moment, I see.
I don't know. Joe Biden brain, whatever. It's that time of night. I got a lot of things I'm thinking about.
Come on, man.
Yeah, well, where's that one? There
Come on, man.
Anyway. The reminder would have been inappropriate earlier, but now it's perfectly appropriate because we're getting into email questions. If you'd like to submit a thought or a question for consideration on the show, head on over to the contact page of my website. MC Live questions box is where you send them in. Let's get into those, starting with Eric America. Would you rather live in a neighborhood full of Christian progressives or full of atheist conservatives? Now, I invite your thoughts on this, Batman, but I do think Christian faith and the Christian ethic are largely responsible for a lot of America's success. So I'm not dismissing its importance. However, in general, I don't think Christian progressives are actually Christians first. I think they're progressives first, and they take Christian tradition or teaching selectively oftentimes, and they fit it into their priority, what is primary in their philosophy, which is the progressive politics. With conservative atheists, I think, one, the status quo in that neighborhood and in that society is still going to be healthier by virtue of the conservative political values. And two, I think I'd have an easier time convincing those conservative atheists that the Christian tradition, Christian teaching, is behind a lot of their values. So to me, I would much rather have atheist conservatives than Christian progressives.
I'm going to answer this by posing a question back. Would you rather live in a community full of people like Sargon of Akkad, or would you rather live in a community full of that one bishop who who chastised Trump from the pulpit the day after he was elected?
I guess I'm getting out of this a little bit by saying the Christian progressives aren't real Christians. Maybe you could try to pin me down on that, but
no, they could believe that they're real Christians, and I couldn't find any real way to argue with them on that because I'm not. I mean, I've studied theology for my own interests, but as I've said before, I'm unconvinced of the faith myself.
All I will say with them is where Christian tradition is not aligned with progressive political priorities, which one wins? That when I say not real Christians, that's what I mean. I don't even mean that they're like fake outright. I mean that where there is conflict between the two teachings, which one is primary? And it's the progressive politics every single time. So that's why I can't pick them.
Yeah.
But all right. Vig Vagina. He's back. Okay.
That's disgusting.
If the role of government is to protect individual rights, should there be much distinction between the federal government and the state government? Is it immoral for the federal government, or if it is immoral for the federal government to levy income tax, should the state be able to do that? Could a state prohibit alcohol? Would Medicaid be different if set up by a state, like Romney Care in Massachusetts, rather than the federal government? Can a state have a Department of Education if the federal equivalent is abolished? Okay. The roles of the state and the federal government are different, but they are complementary. They serve the same purpose through different means. As the Declaration states, you're exactly right. The role of government is to secure the rights of the individual. But one of those rights that is secured is your right to a government that represents you and upholds your interests and maintains your consent, as the Declaration describes. And so for that reason, 99% of the day-to-day governing needs to be in the states and not with the federal government. The federal government needs a very limited role that is virtually...
Or even more locally than the states.
Potentially, yeah. The federal government's role is to provide collective defense of the states from any sort of foreign aggression and to manage any conflict between the states that may arise. So yeah, to answer your question, if people in a state want income tax, yes, they should have it. If people in a state want some sort of healthcare program, yes, they should have it. If they want a Department of Education in their state, yes, they should have it. And if you reject what has been built in your state, or you're in the minority politically, the
do what I did.
Yeah, you do what Batman did. You leave New York and you go to Idaho. And the reason I know that it always sounds easier said than done, even though Batman just did it. But that's the point of that system, is that it maintains both. It maintains your consent to have a government in your state that you want, and when you're in the minority there and the rest of your neighbors are against you, your consent is still exercised by leaving and pursuing something that is more aligned with your views.
And the best part is when you leave, and particularly nowadays where the progressive agenda is so self-destructive to its own population, you can leave and then watch shit collapse behind you like you're watching a movie. It's great.
You get a
This
show.
Mamdani thing, awesome.
Oh, you
I
love
it.
You should do
I
phone
love it.
banking with upside down teardrop headman. I already forgot his name. Omar Fateh. But that's the difference. Okay, well, like why is there a moral difference between the federal government doing this and the state governments doing this? When the federal government does these things, there is no leaving. Instead of your will being respected insofar as you can leave and go to a state that is more aligned with your views, there is no leaving anymore. Your will is completely disregarded. It's destroyed. That's why we look at these things differently from the federal government and the state government perspective. Thank you, Vig. Did you have any more thoughts on that one?
No, I think you covered it.
All righty. You're the one who's lived the life, man. I mean, I left California like a decade ago, but I still considered myself like a good boy Democrat back then. So I haven't done the move, like the politically motivated move like you have.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I definitely didn't do a politically motivated move when I left California to go to New York.
Yeah, that's just...
And unfortunately, it was just sort of a, the reality of where my family was at the time, and, various factors like that. So I was, by the time I left California, I was already into firearms, and I just thought, all right, well, I'm going from one shithole to another. I guess nothing's really going to change. Ultimately, going from California to New York, it got a little bit better. So it was sort of an upgrade, but not by much, which has made this most recent move just a fucking joy, let me tell you. But when it comes to voting with your feet, I can definitely tell you it was not easy.
Yeah, I'm sure
it
it's
was not
not
physically easy.
Yeah.
It was not mentally easy. It was very stressful, particularly with a baby to move.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles.
But you did it, and I don't sense at all that you regret it.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
If I had to do it again tomorrow, if somebody switched the places of Idaho and New York and I had to go back, I'd do it in an instant.
Yeah. And of course, these days with the encroaching federal government, the counter to this perspective is, well, eventually you can't leave anymore because they just keep expanding their power. So at some point you have to make a stand. Yeah, I agree. That's why we had to maintain the system as designed. And now that we've really chipped away at that, the stand that you're talking about kind of becomes more necessary. So we'll see where that leads in the future.
Well, I agree with that in principle, if I thought the stand was going to be necessary. I am not the second Civil War is coming kind of guy. It won't. It's not gonna. Any civil war we have now is not gonna look anything like the first one did.
You see that woman who went viral for saying the blue states are going to control the freshwater? Unicorn Mary, 1969. They're going to steal all your lakes from you up there in northern Idaho. If they if we have a second Civil War.
They're the ones with the slave labor that they can send with the buckets. So,
yeah.
I mean, if they can't put them on weed farms, then might as well send them over to lug water back from friggin', Liberty Lake or whatever.
This next one is the Epstein one I was mentioning earlier. This is from Longtime Freeloader. And Longtime Freeloader, I just had to paraphrase your thoughts because you wrote this out longer than a Trump Truth Social post about the Epstein hoax. So I gave it the best representation that I could. It's interesting enough that I wanted to discuss it. So I hope I represented your thoughts accurately. But my paraphrasing of his thought is this. What if the Epstein files actually are a Democrat hoax? This is what that would look like. If the Democrats had released the files. So these files are assembled under Joe Biden, and they do implicate Trump or his associates in some way. But if Biden and company released it, let's say during the campaign last year, it might not look as credible as if, say, they assembled or doctored the files and then left them there for Trump to be put on the spot to release them because they know that Trump is planning on releasing them. So is it possible that it was a trap set that way? Like, Trump is campaigning on releasing these. Let's make something that he'll be forced to release that will make him look bad. Now, I think this is a very interesting theory, and I don't think it's beyond Democrat insanity to try something like that. However,
no, I'd never thought of that. That's really interesting.
It's maybe
it could be that Pam Bondi did have the files on her desk, and then they finally went through it, and she went, "Oh, this is fake as shit. What do I do now?" And now I have to make these binders that make me look like an asshole.
It's a bunch of photoshopped images of Trump like touching kids and stuff like that. Yeah.
And he's got like 6 fingers, and
it's AI. It's done by Grok. Yeah. Okay. If Trump knows that, though, or like, let's say they have the files with the AI Grok Trump touchy images, that is something he should show. It would, if he could demonstrate things were fixed this way, it's still in his political interest to show that, even though he might have to censor the images, because again, you'll show your political opposition for being totally corrupt. And so what actually longtime freeloader has done here is what Trump has not so far, and that's plausibly explained how this could be a Democrat hoax. So if there's some sort of scam like that going on and there's some evidence to show that, you show it. Trump has not done that so far. If he does provide that sort of reason or evidence, I'll certainly listen. But this is probably the best theory, the best trust the plan theory I've heard. I'm not accusing him of being a plan truster. I'm just saying it's kind of in that mode.
Plan truster.
Yeah.
Is that a new pejorative term? Oh, you plan truster.
I don't know what his perspective on plan trusting is. So I don't want him to feel smeared by me saying he's inherently a plan truster.
No, it's a fascinating theory. I mean, I don't necessarily buy it, in part because generally I think the people who do these hoaxes are a little bit less forward thinking and a little bit less competent when it comes to pulling them off. I mean, because otherwise James O'Keefe wouldn't have a friggin' career,
I guess. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, it's really fun to think about. It's a great hypothetical. I don't necessarily believe it, but that's fascinating.
I don't buy it, but it's plausibly theorized, longtime freeloader. So I appreciate it for that reason. And again, my apology for the paraphrase. I just had to condense it down to something a little more manageable. But thank you for sending in your thoughts. Dick Van Dougal. No, Dick Von Dougal.
That's a big game, man.
Yeah. Hey, bud, I've been following you since the Skag 3 days. Well, thanks for listening for so long. I want to ask you a question about your Christianity. How do you view the fact that you put your sins on someone else, as in Jesus Christ, instead of owning your own sins? I believe in God, but I tend to want to own my own sins, not put them on another. It's not a gotcha question. I'm curious how you justify putting your faith in something that resolves you from responsibility without having to justify your sins yourself. Thanks. Now, respectfully, Mr. Van Dougal. I don't. Sorry. Thank you. This is like L-bot and iBot. I just can't. We'll call you Dick for short. I don't think it's a correct understanding of Christianity to say that you're not responsible for your sins or you're passing off responsibility to somebody else. The central tenet of Christianity is forgiveness of your sins through Christ's sacrifice and through accepting Christ as your Savior. But things are expected of you in that arrangement. In other words, to seek forgiveness for your sins through Christ is to recognize your sins. And to recognize your sins is to take responsibility for them. You didn't sin because Jesus made you do it or something like that. You sinned despite him. You sinned despite what he told you, but he forgives you anyway. The Christian ideal is not anything goes, do whatever you want and Jesus will forgive you. The ideal is Christ himself. He lived a perfect life. You should strive to be like him, knowing that you never will be. We're not capable of being without sin, but we strive to be anyway. We make mistakes. Sometimes that sin is accidental. Sometimes it's intentional. But seeking forgiveness means that you recognize that what you did was wrong, and that's the point. And even if you have some disputes about Christian faith or that structure that I've just described, as always, there are alternatives to consider. And I never feel totally satisfied about arriving at my own Christian faith through sort of the process of elimination. Like, none of this other stuff is acceptable. So I'm going with this. But without a moral structure like that, like the one I just described, you get the sort of anything goes moral relativism that I think is becoming more popular today. It's instead of this, the sins are not my fault, which is sort of what you're describing as a potential problem in Christian faith. The philosophy just becomes, well, the sins don't exist. There's no such thing as sins, or at least insofar as I'm not victimizing somebody else, there is no sin I could commit against myself. There is no sinful way to live so long as it doesn't harm others, that sort of thing. Recognizing sin is the first and most important step in taking accountability for your sin. So, I view it totally the opposite from the way that you're describing, that there's inherent accountability. There is inherent ownership of your sin. And there's appreciation and recognition for the fact that you are forgiven for those sins regardless, but you're forgiven insofar as you recognize them and you commit your life to following the guy who forgives them for you. Anyway, Batman, do you have thoughts on Dick's thoughts?
Well, I think I've said sort of where I fall on this on previous shows I've been on, but I'm sort of somebody who's open to being convinced of it, but I've yet to be convinced of it, in part because I have huge philosophical issues with the idea of through faith, not by works, meaning you could live a theoretically perfect life, but not believe and be cast out for it, right? Or be cast down for it.
Yeah.
So that really bothers me, because like even if your moral structure is identical and you don't believe, and suddenly that in and of itself makes you worthy to be tortured for eternity, that doesn't sound like sound reasoning to me. And if there is an omnipotent being, he should. I mean, I'm not saying that my personal feelings should trump, whatever God says, but I've never had anybody make that make sense to me. That's the way I'll phrase it.
I'd probably need someone a little more theologically advanced to answer that question for you, but I wonder what they might say about intentionally and sort of incidentally following that path. And by that path, I mean following Christ. What I mean by that is I came to a point in my life where I realized I am following some sort of moral structure. I am following some sort of moral code. I can see a right and a wrong, and I am compelled to obey them to the best of my possible ability.
See, and that's one of the things that pushes me towards, in the direction of faith.
And I wonder what they might say. If you don't,
I can see.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I can see that there's a right and wrong. I can see that so almost instinctually, and I realize that it's not instinctual. It's something that was instilled in me by my parents and by my society back before society thought that chopping the dicks off 10-year-olds was okay.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of this is clearly in the benefit of humanity the right thing to do, or the right belief to hold, right? That feels like it has some sort of greater purpose in the grand scheme of things. I can definitely see how that, that definitely pushes me sort of more in the, well, maybe that rule set came from somewhere.
Yeah, I got to a point where I'm just thinking, I'm following something. What am I following if not him? And I wonder what someone who understands these things a little bit better than I do would say about your perspective, which is not outright rejection. You're not saying Jesus Christ, everything about him is false. It's all a lie that we've been sold for the purposes of X, Y, and Z. There's no moral truth to it at all. You're someone who's saying, I'm open to this concept. I just find it hard to accept, given perhaps what you perceive to be a lack of tangible evidence or potentially.
And actually, this question is yet another topic that I have thought rather extensively about. This, he paid for your sins before you were born. What sins did I have before I was born? right? But you're a fallen creature,
Yeah.
right? You're a human being. You're a fallen creature. You are bound to sin. Well, okay, but if he paid for those sins thousands of years ago, and really he was paying for the sins of the people that came before him, aren't I kind of? I mean, what he paid for my sins before I was like even a thought. Like there was no it's that kind of thing. Just sort of I have difficulty wrapping my head around it, and I haven't.
Well, I've got
I've
to
asked
that
a lot
point.
of people about this. Both sides of my family are actually Christians of various sorts, and I've asked a lot of these questions, and I haven't found any satisfactory answers.
Yeah, and I've come to the conclusion too that faith is not a synonym for certainty. Okay, the point, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I think in my prior skepticism or my prior reluctance to embrace the title and choose to follow this path affirmatively, that I felt like I had to know things with certainty, and if I didn't, it wouldn't be responsible for me to claim the title or to choose the path. But as I get into it more and more, you're supposed to have questions. You're supposed to have doubt, and you're supposed to get down to the most fundamental concepts that you have to accept on faith. And to me, when I get down to that fundamental concept, does human life have inherent value for its own sake? Is there a moral order to the world? If so, based on what? Those are all questions that I'm going to have to accept my answers to on faith, because to me, the alternative is completely unacceptable. If you erase the idea that human life doesn't have value inherently, if you accept the idea that there is no such thing as moral truth, it's just a bunch of rules that we made up because they happen to work for a particular purpose sometimes, all of those things create a total chaos world that doesn't make any sense. And so can I tell you with absolute certainty that I've figured out everything about the moral order of the world? No, there's a lot I have to learn. I'm just saying this path makes a lot more sense to me than being out in the woods acting like everything is a freaking coincidence.
I think if there was truly no order to the world at all, and everything was as chaotic as determined atheists would have you believe, the sheer entropy of that world would have destroyed humanity a long time ago.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of order to it. I don't know if it's, the Christian God or if it's something else. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm open to being convinced. I really am. I just haven't been yet.
I believe that in the same way I would, that I was, those open to being convinced will have something presented to them, something compelling presented to them. I believe I was, and I believe you will be too. I don't say that. Sometimes when people say stuff like that, it sounds condescending. I don't mean that at all in that way.
No, I know.
I just mean that to the extent that I believe this to be true, I believe it does present itself to people who are open to finding it in a compelling way. And I believe that'll happen to you. So I would never shame. I'm not in position to deal with that. Like I'm a person who's still new to this myself. So the idea of me being like a finger wagger about this stuff is hilarious. People will find, if it's true, people will find their path to it. And I believe that they do. I believe that they will. And I had my own experience with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your thoughts on that. That was, and thank you, Dick Von Dougal. That was a very thought-provoking discussion. Lee, theology with old Dick, you get a lot of variety on this show.
Solid Dick with Dick.
Okay. Lee, my last email question had been, I don't remember what your last question was, but you say it's inspired by a Facebook reel you'd seen. It complained that a Walmart worker was being detained by ICE and had been released with nothing but a charge for assault on a federal officer. I do agree that illegals need to be deported. However, if illegals couldn't find work here, many wouldn't come. Excuse me. How should we punish employers found to have them, illegals, on their payroll? Personally, I think $1 million fine per illegal employed plus company leadership thrown in jail. It's non-negotiable. It doesn't matter who you are. Amazon, C-suite executives, and maybe the board get jail time. Mom and pop restaurant, same punishment. Make it a media circus.
Round them all up.
Okay. I don't oppose laws making it illegal to hire illegals. In fact, we already have that. Generally, I was looking up the terms when I was reading this question earlier. So Generally, first offenses are civil penalties, up to $23,000 per illegal knowingly hired. And that's the kicker. It's got to be knowing. You got to fill out paperwork. And so if you participate in the fraud, then they can go get you. But if someone dupes you and tricks you into thinking they're legal when they're not, you're not held accountable for that. Or at least not in this
a lot
way.
of them are getting like somehow managing to forge fake social security numbers and
so
stuff
that's a
like that.
problem.
And they're getting good at duping people into thinking that they're not illegal.
Yeah.
Right. So that is kind of the problem here. The distinction that they need to have knowingly hired illegals for that specific purpose,
which is
does
happening.
need to be stressed.
That's happening a lot. And so if you're doing that knowingly, you start with big fines up to $23,000, but as low as $600. If there's a pattern and practice of doing it, you've been caught before, or maybe you've been doing it on such a scale that you obviously had intent, then you can face criminal prosecution. It's up to 6 months in jail per illegal alien hired. And I know you're calling for something stiffer here, like $1 million fines and longer jail terms potentially. In general, though, I think that penalty structure sounds about right to me. It's tough but fair fines to start. It escalates to a criminal matter if you don't stop. To me, I think this is a problem that is all about enforcement rather than the need for new law or some law that's missing or something like that. I do agree, too, with the idea that especially in these egregious cases where it's very clear that, say, a large company intentionally hired these people knowing they're illegal immigrants because they can pay them less or they can keep them off the books or whatever it is they can do.
Or they can make them work for free,
Yeah, at the weed farm with the kids.
That's right.
If you start making examples out of company leadership where you find these big operations, you're going to see company policy change very quickly. I don't think you need a new law to do that. I think you could do that under existing law. So yeah, I share your general view on this, Lee. I think it's just, where's the enforcement on this sort of thing? And I ask that rhetorically, or not rhetorically. I ask that because I don't know the answer to it. When Trump is busting up places like this weed farm in California, I don't know who owns it and who operates it. It was like glass farms, Glassdoor farms, glass farms.
Something like that.
Who runs it, and are they being prosecuted for what clearly looks like they didn't just accidentally hire a Jose or something like that? It looks like this was more an intentional op. By the letter of the law, they should be. There should at least be civil penalties.
Well, enforcement has been the problem anyway. Enforcing the border, enforcing these laws, enforcing anything to do with illegals is what brought us to this point in the first place. They're still called illegals because they've been illegal the entire time. It's just that it's been tolerated by those who are supposed to crack down on it.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure that just upping the penalty will do much. We need to actually have the funds and the personnel to go up, and the will, the political will and the willpower to go about making these changes so that and we have been making inroads on that. I mean, the number of illegals crossing these days is minuscule just compared to a year ago today.
I wish people understood or thought more critically about what it means to in the context of your employment and your financial situation. Obviously, we care about illegal immigration insofar as these people are unvetted and they may present safety threats. We don't know what sort of criminals might be in there. But even if they are the sort of illegal immigrant that the media and Democrats love to promote, the honest worker just wants to work hard. Okay, I'm sure many of them are, but the economic financial reality is every illegal immigrant that is brought into a big operation like that to take a job under the table is taking a job at a lower wage than would otherwise go to an American. Like you are fundamentally competing against these people for your wages. And when you allow these mechanisms that suppress what your wages would be, because we've introduced a bunch of foreign workers who work in situations that may or may not be legal, or even at best, they're just, when you increase the supply of workers, guess what the value of each individual worker does? It goes down. You're more replaceable because there's another guy who can come in and do it. So I wish people would think about it from that perspective too. Like, it's going to make your economic situation worse, and you should care about enforcement for that reason beyond just the safety. But any other thoughts you had on this before we catch up with Super Chat?
No, not on this, but actually in the chat, Joshy Boy has stated, do you mind if I bring this in real quick?
It depends on what. What is he saying?
It's on the topic of the last email
what is
question.
this? I'll allow it.
He says, I don't like how Batman needs to be convinced. If you don't want to be convinced, then what's the point? And I think I just wanted to respond to that real quick, in that it's not that I don't want to be convinced, and I thought I was pretty clear about that. It's that I have yet to be convinced, and I can't just, tell you I believe in it if I don't believe in it, right? I would need to see something that compels me to think, okay, yeah, you know what, now more puzzle pieces are falling into place. Now I think I can wrap my head around it enough to believe it. But just saying I don't want to be convinced, I think it's not accurate, and it's not at all what I said.
How dare you?
Yeah, shut up, Joshy Boy. You'll get your turn soon enough. No, I appreciate it. And actually, Joshy, it's I feel like Batman's in a position that I myself was in months and years ago, because the things you're saying, I know I said myself. And so it's interesting to think about it from that perspective, that you're open to being convinced. It just hasn't hit you yet. But what you're describing is exactly what I thought, that it's very important to, if I am ever to accept this title and choose this path, I need to be able to explain why. I need to be able to tell people why. And up until a year ago, I didn't have a clear picture of that. I wouldn't have been able to tell you why. Now I can. And I sense that you're in the same spot, that you're open to it, but your why question is not established and you don't feel honest without it. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I'd say so. And he adds, what would convince you? And to which I've already laid out a couple of questions about my philosophy and the way that sort of my mind is organized in that respect. So if you could answer those questions, maybe that would go a ways towards building that particular bridge. But here we are.
I didn't know what would convince me until the demon people showed up in my email inbox. And it'll happen.
The D-mails.
Yeah, the D-mails.
Oh, yes.
I got the D-mails. That's careful how I phrase that. That sounds a little suspect.
That's
too.
a big game,
That's okay.
man.
It's okay. You've been clipped saying dumber things.
Oh, there are a million things. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Josh. I saw you just super chatted as well. Thank you for that. But we'll catch up with your super chat thoughts in a minute too. All right. Speaking of, let's get into it. And I know I'm a little late to super chat tonight, so appreciate all your patience, guys. Appreciate your support for the show, and I don't mean to leave you hanging that long. So, Robert's Pickle Snickle. Okay, bro. Openly supporting Trump in some states has literally been a question of life and death, and for Trump, and now he does this. How many January 6thers who got gulagged for him, he's telling them to go F themselves. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I wouldn't say I forget that, but I don't live in a place where supporting Trump is potentially dangerous like that.
Yeah.
But it is in many contexts. It's like,
I've lived in many places where if I flew a Trump flag, I think if I lived there today, I'd have a mob try and beat the shit out of me.
Yeah, look at Trump was nearly shot to death, but a guy was shot to death as a result of that. And I wouldn't say we forget, but Corey, what was his name? Bad time to forget. That was a difficult last name though. Comparator, I think, something like that.
Comparator. Yeah. And there was Aaron Danielson too.
That's right.
The guy in Portland who was basically executed.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not the only ones either. Just the ones who were sort of killed in the most gruesome ways.
Yeah. So I take your point on that, Robert. It's a very important one. And I agree. Like I try to give Trump pretty broad benefit of the doubt, but man, this one is tough. Long Dong John, I still subscribe to the idea that the Epstein files were destroyed after Trump became president-elect, but this stinks to high heaven. What is he or Bondi hiding? Yeah, it's bizarre to watch him flip on a dime. Like all of a sudden this is a non-story and nobody should care about it. But it's even more bizarre that he just expects everyone to do the same thing like that. Like you just, my leader, I received my programming from my leader. My opinion has changed totally. That's not the way that it works. I know Trump has a very loyal following that he's earned. Some of that is a cult of personality, perhaps, but I think he's drastically mischaracterizing if he thinks he can say literally anything in the world. Like, can Trump come out tomorrow and endorse communism and expect people to follow him down that path?
And I definitely think fuck no.
So maybe some, maybe a few. There would be some plan trusters. Bro, we have to just try a little to defeat the communism.
That gets me every time.
I guess we coined a new term tonight. But yeah, there are limitations. And the thing is, like, it's just a baseline level of respect thing, you know? You have people that follow you, that appreciate you. It's you have to just take a breath and bare minimum not tell them to go fuck themselves or something like that, you know? It's a very it's just beyond the politics and the truth of whatever happened with Epstein. It's just very poor leadership right now, and it's frustrating to watch.
Agreed.
Esoterica Unbound. Thank you, Long Don John. It's in a fit of drug-fueled peak Elon says Trump is on the Epstein list. That's right. A few weeks later, Trump administration subsequently says, what list? And Trump lapses into insult mode. Curiouser and curiouser. Hey, I totally thought that what Elon was saying was drug-fueled nonsense. I still think it probably was. Because is Elon saying that he saw some of this stuff? If so, what did you see? Explain. But it is odd how the sequence of events is odd.
They were doing absolutely everything in their power, up to and including shooting at him twice, to get him out of the presidency, get him out of the race. Right? If they had this stack of papers that said he's a pedo, they would have released that in an instant, and they would have done so in a way where, you know, they would have redacted everything except Trump touches kitties, and then the rest is just black bars, right? If they thought that would, or even if they didn't think it would help, they would have done it.
Well, they're trying to force him to release it, as we have identified.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's too much of a scalpel, and it's too much of a scalpel for what our politicos are really capable of, and not enough of a giant clown sledgehammer.
Clown cleaver, I thought you were going with.
The giant honking horns that
do clowns have sledgehammers? Is that a real thing?
I think so. Well, at least Gallagher did.
Oh, I don't know.
That's a joke.
Anyway.
No, I mean, like, you know, a giant rubber sledgehammer that honks when you hit something with it, like a children's toy.
Okay. I'll envision that. I don't know if I've ever seen it, but okay. I could see a clown using it, sure. The aforementioned Joshy Boy. Can't say I ever trusted Trump. I just preferred him over cackling Kamala.
Bingo.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I trust Trump insofar as I give him a certain benefit of the doubt. I'm never going to trust there's almost no human I would trust absolutely beyond maybe my family. But even everybody's a human being. Like, they're all imperfect in that way. You definitely should not trust a politician. Absolutely. That's completely insane. Even the best ones don't deserve that. Long Dong John, one more thing. What's this I'm hearing about House Republicans co-sponsoring a mass amnesty bill? That's news to me. I know that Trump was talking about, if not amnesty, maybe going a little lighter on like illegal immigrants working in hospitality businesses, but I've not heard about any kind of mass amnesty bill in Congress.
Nor have I.
I'm just thinking of the Pawn Stars
do
meme,
something like that.
We want the Epstein list. Best I can do is mass amnesty. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if they do something like that, they're going to lose a lot of supporters.
Yeah.
A lot.
Daniel Yeager, given Tucker's been interviewing convicts lately, as in Bankman-Fried, George Santos. I forgot he talked to George Santos. Oh, man. Do you think he interviews Ghislaine Maxwell if his team hasn't reached out already? I'm sure he would take that opportunity if it was available to him. There's talk that Ghislaine Maxwell wants to testify to Congress. I want to hear what she has to say. Not that I believe her, but I want more pieces to this story, not fewer. So if Ghislaine Maxwell has stories to tell, I want to hear them. We can decide if we believe them or not. But it's valuable information. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on that? Agree, disagree? Is there any downside to hearing what Ghislaine has to say?
No, I mean, I think we should be, interrogating her, making transcripts, all that stuff. I would assume that she would be using all of the information in her head as a tool to try and free herself and to basically extort things out of the government. I assume that's what's going on. Because I mean, if I happen to be psychotic enough to be in her position, that's absolutely what I would be doing. But I have a feeling that there are a lot of people who don't want her to talk. I have a feeling that the only reason she's lived this long is because she hasn't. And she's maybe waiting for somebody to have the juice to quietly free her and send her back to whatever island that the real Epstein is actually living on right now. I'm kidding. But, with people that are that pathologically narcissistic, they always think there's a way out, right? This is part of the reason why I really don't think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Because when you do that kind of stuff, you don't want to take your own life.
Do you buy the Hillary theory or the Darth Vader theory? Which missing minute is accurate?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm still battling allergies here, so I'm not doing Hunter Biden stuff. I'm not trying to wipe the Coke away or anything like that.
Oh yeah, me too.
All right.
It's rough around here.
Thank you, Daniel. Joshy boy. Did I call you Daniel Yeager, by the way? It should be Daniel Jagger. My apologies if I mispronounced. I guess that's a theme of my show. I mispronounce super chat names. Joshy boy.
The epitome of your show.
Yeah. Another question to consider, even if the files were released, would anyone ever get arrested and jailed? I'm already annoyed with the whole Doge thing largely being a waste of time. Yeah, I mean, you had money cut, but you're right that if there was actual waste, fraud, and abuse, fraud is a criminal term. If there's fraud, those people should be prosecuted. If the files were released and there was obvious criminally implicating material in there, would we have the balls to go after people? It's hard for me to predict that we would. Yeah. Would it just be explained away? I don't know.
Well, again, I offered that theory at the start of the show about how, basically they had the list, but they were using it. And there's still a part of me that hopes that's true. But, we'll just have to see.
Oil King's very mad at me, I guess. 7 months, you said you wanted to bring back shame, yet you are not ashamed for the failures you did. Lost your FU money and made jokes about your double standards when you got sick. Both mods and co-host angry. Swart looks, J knows. I want you to win, but you've gone below lol cow that your trolls don't care. You have stalled out because you are clinging to bad ideas. Richard Parker has a hit piece on you. Congrats. I think I followed like half of that. Did you get much out of that?
Can you repeat the part of this stuff where you said all about the things?
Yeah, that didn't make a ton of sense.
I'm very glad that you seem to know my entire personal situation, Oil King. But hey,
I think Oil King and I have actually also fought on the other Discord, so this may be directed at me.
Yes, Oil King, since you have, I guess, impeccable direction for me, why don't you email me a list of all the things that I should do to pursue success according to you, since you've demonstrated it so thoroughly, and I will get right on following that. But, clearly not a lol cow, Oil King. Clearly a very upstanding man with a lot of wisdom to offer. Bill McPherson. The law of God is imparted and revealed to all men via nature. Romans 1. Christ came to heal us and ransom us from the kingdom of Satan, sin, and death. God judges men as righteous who are. The work of Christ and us in him as his body on earth, as his imagine in unity, is more than mere faith. Latin and later Protestant theology are tainted by Augustine. Being on the vine bears fruit. Well, thank you, Bill. Hope you're doing well. All the best to you and your family. And Joshy Boy says, fair enough, Batman, which we've already resolved.
Yes.
All right. I got to get over to Rumble. Make sure I don't forget over there. Thank you guys for waiting so long on Rumble. I know it's been a minute. Dangerous Spaces, our friendly call screener producer. I'm willing to accept that there may be that maybe there is a reason they can't release all the Epstein files or don't release them right now, even if that is what is going on. Either explain it or just shut the fuck up. Yeah, I mean, just tell us what's going on. What's even more frustrating is that Trump's first term, there were a lot of cases of rescuing sex-trafficked kids that was never covered by major media. This is undermining all of that good work. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm there with you.
Also says, fucking hell, Mr. President, in an Aussie accent. Midterm elections are about drawing out passionate supporters to help your party win more seats in the House and in the Senate. This sort of shit will fuck that up, sir. FYI for the audience, if you see a YouTube comment with timestamps, that's an accident. It means I forgot to delete the message I used to check the timestamp. It'll always be found in the description. Well, thank you. Tim does our timestamps, of course. Bladimson, Occam's razor, bro. The only reason that Trump would be going full retard in the Epstein files is if he's if he's on them. Otherwise, he'd be talking about how the deep state did away with it or something. I mean, it seems like an implausible explanation insofar as why wouldn't Democrats have released that information if they had it? They use every political tool that they have available to them. Why not that one? Unless Bladimson is right, like our theorizer, longtime freeloader, and they have laid the trap, and now the trap is in effect. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there aren't a lot of. I generally agree. Let me make sure I understand. Right, Occam's razor is simplest solution or simplest explanation is usually the correct one. Is that right? Or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, that's Occam's razor.
Right. So I agree that that's generally true, and you should aim for that when theorizing. However, there just aren't a lot of simple explanations here. I don't actually really agree that Trump being in the Epstein files is a very simple explanation, because a simple piece of behavior would follow. Democrats would exploit that unless they're doing some advanced piece of exploitation like we're talking about. But then
they don't do.
And then to me, it's not really Occam's razor. It's like complicated.
That's what I'm saying, is they don't tend to act like that. As soon as they have something that they can stick into the cannon, they stuff it in and they fire a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the way that they've operated for a long time. I have difficulty thinking that they have made these long-term, plans as a trap waiting for them in the file room at the FBI. I don't see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit the pattern.
Ramsey C says Boelter had money and plenty of property. He had something going on besides Papa John's. Well, it was his roommate guy who was a Papa John's employee. I don't think Boelter worked at Papa John's, unless maybe he had some involvement there. But that was what was weird about Boelter, is he was away from his wife, or like living as a roommate with his longtime friend, even though he was a married man with children.
Like a friggin' cabin in the woods somewhere.
Yeah. So whatever's going on, Ramsey, you're right. There's a lot of oddities there. Dangerous Spaces also says, I read the Manifesto notebook for the Covenant school shooter in preparation for the last tennis show, and that ultimately never happened. It's really not fun to try to dive into the mind of a psychopath. Yeah, I remember I had a whole show prepped that day, and then the tennis stuff went down, and, it became a different show very quickly. Ramsey C. Did David Wood and/or apostate prophet, or get David Wood and/or apostate prophet on your show for the lowdown on the Muslims, and specifically Taqiyya? Probably not spelling that right. Now, Taqiyya, as I understand it, is the principle that it's okay to lie in pursuit of advancing Islam or something like that. I don't know exactly what that. There's some supposed Muslim principle to that effect. I don't even know if that's true. That's just what I've heard described. I don't know if that's actually a true piece of Muslim philosophy or not. But,
well, given what other pieces of Muslim philosophy I know are in there, it wouldn't surprise me.
Dangerous Spaces says, 1, apparently I need to keep explaining to morons why a high minimum wage is very often not a good idea. 2, could you explain ranked choice voting as we have it? Or he could explain it as they have it in basically all of their elections. Well, that's not true. Nobody can explain it. It's impossible to explain, but I appreciate your offer. Ramsey says, my local East Texas Democrat Party headquarters closed. They don't have plans on opening a new HQ. Well, okay, so it wasn't like they were Molotoved. It's just nobody cares about what they're selling, which is probably
well, they could have closed after it burned down. You don't know.
Ramsey C. You can't pay for your sins. You can't actually make amends for your failures. A perfect person, God has to do it for you. How can you heal someone's heart when you have wronged? Yeah, it's an interesting thought on the philosophy of moral behavior and forgiveness in that way. Thank you, Ramsey. Appreciate it. All right. We're all set on Odyssey. Appreciate you guys over there. Anything else before we're out of here, Batman?
No, I think that about covers it.
Okay. Well, we will leave it there. Appreciate everybody's participation in the live show tonight. Live chatters, super chatters, emailers, callers, all you guys. Appreciate your participation in the live production. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to Batman for sitting in tonight. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance as always. If you're looking for anything show-related, MattChristiansenMedia.com is where you find it. I'll be back Sunday. Hope to see you then. Have a good night.
Take care, y'all.